uncertain thing about this statement is that it is false. Atheists dislike saying disproved, so instead of saying that the resurrection has been disproved, they say that it is scientifically impossible. That is true, but the assumption that science is the only way to establish truth is an unscientific and philosophically undemonstrated claim. A metaphysical faith. It is also circular. Something that science cannot demonstrate cannot be true. Science cannot demonstrate a resurrection. Therefore resurrection cannot occur. If one adopts the premise on faith, then no other outcome is possible. But there is no sufficient reason to believe the premise true. Once we get off the carousel of resurrections cannot occur, therefore the resurrection did not occur, and get onto solid, unspinning ground again, we can examine the evidence without pre-filtering it. The resurrection of Jesus can be discussed reasonably on the basis of the evidence. The New Testament is primarily based on eyewitnesses.
We proclaim to you what we have seen and heard.
The resurrection can be evaluated not by science but instead in the way that most knowledge is evaluated, by the testimony of witnesses. The prior question, though, is whether it matters. Why did not God perform a more generally useful miracle like stopping genocide? What, in other words, does Jesus' resurrection matter to anyone except, say, Jesus and his family and friends? But billions of people find that it does matter to them as evidence for hope. Past, present and future. The historical question is divided into two parts. What did the earliest Christians think happened to Jesus? And how reliable is their testimony? This entry will not go into specifics, because the evidence has been so thoroughly and variously examined. The main points of evidence are the burial of Jesus, his empty tomb and his physical appearances after his death. Belief in the physical resurrection of Jesus was almost universal among his earliest followers, and the claim that such belief began only with the Apostle St. Paul has been demonstrated to be false. The resurrection of Jesus is unique. Jesus raised Lazarus from the dead, but then Lazarus continued to live his life and eventually died a natural death. Jesus' resurrection was not a reanimation or resuscitation, it was breaking out into an entirely new form of life, into a life that is no longer subject to the law of dying and becoming, but lies beyond it. A life that opens up a new dimension of human existence.